It's well known that digital forms and workflows can streamline business processes and data collection. Everyday processes like vendor management, purchase orders, and invoice management are faster, more accurate, and more efficient, saving companies time and money. But these smart online forms are even more useful if they can connect to business data stored in internal systems, such as a SQL database. With frevvo's connectors, we can easily integrate forms and workflows with our business data. Let's take a look at a couple of typical processes in procurement, vendor management, and purchase order or PO processing. Using frevvo's database connector, we'll link our forms and workflows to the SQL database, allowing us to view, add, and update real-time information. Database integration will improve productivity, enhance data validity, and save money. Let's see how it works. A typical purchase-to-pay scenario deals with business objects like vendors, purchase orders, line items, and more, which each have underlying database tables. In most cases, we interact with these entities in standard ways. For example, when managing vendors, we might want to list existing vendors, create a new vendor, read and view details for a vendor, update vendor information such as phone, address, or bank information, or even delete a vendor, which is not common, but it is possible with the database connector. We can do all of these actions easily in a user-friendly, mobile-ready frevvo form or workflow with no code required. Best of all, frevvo automatically connects form fields to the right columns in the database, and also handles all the details of translating data formats, pooling connections, etc., so we don't need to worry about it. First, let's look at a vendor management form so we can see those operations in practice. To create a new vendor in the database, the user simply enters data into fields that are connected to the appropriate database tables. When the user clicks Submit, the vendor is automatically created in the database. Next, we want to list the existing vendors in our database, including the one we just created. This form has a drop-down that will automatically list vendors from the database. It's easily configured in the form designer by simply linking the drop-down to our database via the connector. The fields in this form let us enter new vendor details, but they also show vendor information once we've selected an existing vendor. As we mentioned earlier, form fields, which are connected to the database, were added automatically with just a few clicks. Once on the form, it's easy to resize, rename, or move them around to customize the look and feel of the form. To connect a form or workflow to the database, we simply point it to our database connector in frevvo's Settings wizard. Now the user can select a vendor from the list. Notice that the vendor we just created is an available option. frevvo automatically retrieves the matching vendor details from the database and displays them. The user can change any details they want and click Submit to update the database. If we run the form again and pick the same vendor, it's easy to see that the change we just made did indeed end up in the database. These techniques will work for a form with any number of fields and any complexity. Let's try the same thing for a purchase order with line items. This form connects to 3 different database tables with no code at all. First, we'll create a new purchase order. Notice we have a drop-down listing vendors from the vendors table, just as before. We also have many fields connected to both the purchase order and line items tables in our database. The database connector makes sure the fields are of the correct type to connect to our database columns so that when the user clicks Submit, a valid new database entry is created. Next, we can use a drop-down to list all of the POs. Notice we've concatenated some of the PO info from multiple tables to make it easy to find the one we want. When we select a PO, frevvo automatically shows us all the details and line items for that PO. Once again, it will automatically retrieve data from multiple tables as necessary. If we pick a different PO, the form instantly updates to show us the new information. See how the number of rows in the table increases or decreases automatically to reflect the correct number of line items in the PO? The user can add a new line item, delete an existing one, or change details in an existing line item. When they click Submit, that information goes right back to the database, updating both the purchase order and line item tables. Real-world business workflows like vendor, PO, or invoice management are simply more useful if they can connect to business data residing in internal systems such as a SQL database. With frevvo's Database Connector, you can easily connect forms and workflows to your database with zero code required. frevvo Forms and Workflows provide a great user experience to view, create, and update real-time data of any complexity and streamline your business processes. Visit our website to try these examples and sign up for a free, fully functional 30-day trial, or contact us for a live demo of frevvo Database Connected Forms and Workflows.